This episode of the Maintenance Mindset Minute is brought to you by AppWork. AppWork has a portion of their documentation that your maintenance technicians can use in a residence apartment to document what's going on with the service request. Check out AppWork. Now, when we're looking at service requests, one of the things that we need to document is the condition of the system that we've just repaired. Whether we're dealing with plumbing or air conditioning or electrical or locks or the apartment itself, all of those could technically be classified as systems. Probably this time of year, the number one system that people think of is air conditioning. And that's great because that's one of those items that provides us a lot of job security. However, when we finish with a work order, one of the big things that we just stereotypically don't do a good job of is documenting the condition when we're done. That means if you're working on any system, but in this case, we're talking about air conditioning, if you're working on air conditioning equipment, do yourself a favor and document the condition of the system when you're finished. You can take a tool like this. This is an infrared temperature gauge. It is useful for a very quick read of the temperature. I do want to exercise caution with this. Use it correctly. By correctly, I mean what it was intended. You see, we're talking here about documenting conditions when we're finished. This does a great job of documenting conditions, a very specific condition. You see, when you particularly use this, a little red light gets shown on the wall, and wherever that red light is, that is the center point for the infrared sensing that this is doing. How that works is infrared takes surface temperature. This is why, on one hand, this is a challenging tool to use for air conditioning. It's not measuring the temperature change in the air. It's measuring the temperature change of whatever surface you aim that red beam on. That means that by the time we get finished working on that air conditioning equipment, hopefully, if we've completed our repair properly, then the vents that our cooler air is coming out are at a lower temperature. This will measure the temperature of the vent. Do yourself a favor and on your work order, whatever system you're using, even on paper, write down IR temp and then the degrees Fahrenheit that the tool shows. That way you can prove later if a resident or somebody asks what happened when you finished the work order. You have proof, you have documentation of the conditions at the end. A word of caution, don't use this to fix an air conditioning system. By that, I mean do not use this to determine the amount of refrigerant in your system. You need to use a tool, a thermometer that will measure the air temperature. Thank you for joining me today on this episode of the Maintenance Mindset Minute. It was brought to you by AppWork. Head over to appworkco.com and check out their documentation system that can even let you gamify your maintenance operation. You can keep track of how many go-backs each maintenance technician has and have some fun with the lowest number of go-backs for a resident. Thanks again. I'll see you somewhere.